guys and gals and non-binary pals. Welcome. Not sure what we're talking about, so you're going to help me decide. I got your comments up here on my big screen. I can see you're all joining, and I'm recording this, I think, in case we want to put it up on YouTube or one of them places. So what is it? Wednesday, August 16th, first day of school for my kids. Dropped them off, got to pick them up in an hour and a half because California public schools do a lot of half days because they got no money because the state is a mess, but I'd still not really want to live anywhere else. Isn't that weird? It's like I'm a masochist. Oh, look at all these people. What's up, guys? Maya says, hello. Life, work, balance culture in the United States that does not exist. It does not exist. We're kind of workaholics in this country. We think that we can work our way out of that deep sense of uneasiness that we're never worth enough. And it doesn't work. It never works. It's never worked. So maybe we should look at that sense instead and find the balance emerges naturally when you understand what it is you actually are. Bobby Mart says, if you can't make it in California, you can't make it anywhere, and don't come back. That's funny. Yeah, the people who leave California, I did it. I mean, I went to Las Vegas for 8 years. Yeah, if you can't make it in Cali, yeah, good luck. That's true. It's pretty easy. Z-Dog, it's also really hard because it's expensive. I'm glad to hear your work on alcoholism. I'm not sure I've done a lot of work on alcoholism. Maybe it's time to start. You're telling me something I don't know about me, which is good. Bellingham, Washington's in the house. All right, so, okay, back on the subject of workaholicism, and that's not the right word. You know what I'm talking about. All of this. It really comes from the sense that we're not okay. We're not enough. And let's be totally honest. From a standpoint of realization, you can't ever be enough because the fundamental problem is this object in consciousness, the body-mind system that we, through this innocent misidentification, this sort of case of mistaken identity, the object, the body mind, this character, somehow through a quirk of awareness thinks that it is the subject of experience. And as the subject of experience, it has control. And it's somehow responsible for how things unfold in reality, in space with separation, and in time with different future and past and all of that. And so this case of mistaken identity leaves an object, this human instantiation, feeling like it's actually in control and responsible. And it's not. And since it's not, it can't possibly be because it's not the subject of experience. All there is subjectivity, experiencing itself. And the body mind that you think is you is an appearance in that infinite awakeness. So now that the appearance itself has been deputized as a being, as a separate self with agency, well, it can never be enough because it's not even real. And at the deepest level, there's that tension in the body that's like, it keeps trying to do and accomplish and work, and it uses drugs and alcohol to numb the discomfort that it's feeling. And the truth is, it all comes from a pure root, which is the misapprehension, the misunderstanding, the mistaken identity that it is actually the subject controlling experience in some way. It's not. So what happens when there's a deep instinctual shift in perspective where it's seen now, oh, this really was this that I thought was me is just an appearance in what the I really is, which is all of it, awakeness. That's what I am. Not the I that thinks it's this. The I that knows that it exists, that knows that it's awake, that it's having experience. What is that? What's looking through your eyes? What's looking through all eyes? What's looking through your cat's eyes? What is that awake presence? This is appearing in that. So when this thinks it is actually that and running the show, it's going to fail every time. There's no end to the seeking to try to make it happy, to the duality of good and evil and bad and worse and happiness and pain and all of that. That's the experience of a false character in a dream. So what happens when there's a shift and you realize, oh, no, it's actually always been everything without time and space. Time and space are appearances in what I am. Well, that's the end of suffering. Yeah, you still have pain and pleasure. You still have all that stuff, but none of it is owned as a responsible party, somebody who can be hurt by it, because you're infinite. Awakeness, only here, only now. In fact, even here and now, be here now becomes redundant. Where else can you be? There's only and always this. So then that seeking energy is seen for what it is, yet another dance of energy in the play of consciousness happening perfectly. And when I say perfectly, it's because it couldn't be otherwise, because it's happening. How could it be otherwise? It's already here. It's the only thing that's here. It's the whole universe right now. And that relaxing, that shift in perspective has been called awakening. And that's the only path out of suffering, honestly. Everything else is like a Band-Aid. But it doesn't matter whether there's awakening, there's no awakening. There's really nothing actually going on except for consciousness experiencing itself. So it doesn't really matter. So take a breath, relax. There's nothing you can do except for be. And sometimes that relaxation is enough to have the grace of that shift in perspective show up for you. Oh, I love you too, Medic Marky. Medic Marky Mark, no less. Good vibrations. Thank you for helping me. Oh, that's sweet. You kept me alive. Well, Medic, no one can do that. That's just aliveness. You were kept. I mean, it just is happening. That's the liberation, is nobody's doing it. So give yourself a break. You're okay. It's all just happening. Hi, Ashley, awakening, prescription level mindfulness. I still love how you labeled it that way. Yeah, because there's oh, mahalo, aloha, bright. Yeah, Maui. We did a Facebook live on that. Such a disaster. And again, like, yeah, it's all playing out perfectly. This is how the universe is unfolding. That part of the unfolding is we can feel compassion for all who've lost their lives and their livelihood, for that beautiful island, for the place that many of us know. And that's part of the unfolding too. So just because you accept everything as perfectly unfolding doesn't mean the next action isn't to do something or to feel, right? Or to love unconditionally. Leprechaun 1776 says, in my opinion, trauma is the only awakening, and then learning to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that is absolutely your perspective on it. Every body, mind wakes up in a different way. For many, trauma is the trigger because that discomfort with this misidentification, with this mistaken identity, becomes so acute that it becomes intolerable to think that this body, mind is in control and it suffered this horrible, life-changing trauma. And now what? It's unbearable from the standpoint of this defective apparatus, which doesn't even exist as you think. It's not the subject of your experience. And yet, when it's felt to be, when there's a feeling that arises that this, yeah, it is, energetically and emotionally and in thought, in belief, I am this, well, trauma becomes unbearable. So that unbearableness can actually be what energetically blows you open to see truth, which is behind the veil. You know, as Morpheus said, it's the world that's been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. that you're a slave to this idea that you exist in this world of separation. And then what happens is you see it all arising and you can just be it as what you are, which is infinite awareness. Even that's wonky. That's an anthropomorphization. It's a humanizing awareness, which is not human. It's beyond the human conceptions. It's all that is, all that ever was. It's empty and yet full of everything. And you can see the paradox is everywhere. So in human language, you can't talk about it. You can't even go there in thought. You can only be what you are knowingly. That's it. And trauma can be a gate, but it's not necessary. Camastro asks about concierge medicine. Why are we seeing this trend in people leaving primary care for concierge medicine? So we've done a lot of shows on this. The reason is people are fed up with being asked to see 30 and 40 patients a day and have panels of 2,500 patients in order to make ends meet, to pay their overhead, or to be working in a big, large multi-specialty group. And they find that if they can get a membership fee yearly or monthly to take care of a population of patients, they can actually practice the kind of medicine they want to practice, where they know they can spend the time and they have the tools, teams, and trust to actually take care of patients the way they know they need to, and that unique patient in front of you. So yeah, now what we did at Turntable Health was not concierge, it was more affordable, and we put it on a federal exchange so you could actually get insurance that would cover the membership fee. And it worked really well. And that's called direct primary care. That's like concierge for the masses. So I think those are very reasonable ways to get off the grid, but really the grid has to be transformed. So if enough people get off it, maybe it'll transform out of necessity, right? And again, it goes back to this kind of sense that our systems reflect our delusion, and our current medical system is delusional. We think we can just keep throwing money in a pot and squeezing more out of healthcare professionals and more out of patients, and somehow it's going to be okay. It's not. That's delusion. It needs a total rethink, and primary care is the center of it. And in this country, we don't value primary care at all. So that's got to change before anything else can happen. Hey, Doc, how you doing, Sean Daddy Cool? Looking at your comments. Instagram's weird because it shows this big list of all these people joining, which I don't care about because I can't read them aloud, and it's kind of weird and creepy to shout someone out just because they joined. I want to see comments, Instagram. I don't want to see all this noise. Show me just the comments. Yeah, so it's just a bunch of noise. Leave some comments, you guys, to drown out the noise. Ask some questions. Let's have a conversation. Otherwise, I'm gonna wrap it up and go pick up my kids from their first day of school. Ashley says our primary care is facing massive shortages too. Yeah, because nobody wants to work. Look, in the Canadian system, it's the same thing. It's fee for service. The government's the payer, not insurance. It's no better. It's no better in that sense. It is better in many other ways. Like everybody's covered, and providers themselves only have one insurance company to bill, which is the government. I see some medical questions, which I don't really want to get into. I'm glad, Marky Mark. How do you plan to start the revamp of medicine, says Sean? Well, we've already done a bit in terms of Turntable, which was a partner with Iora Health, which got purchased by One Medical, which got purchased by Amazon. So now Amazon has the Turntable Health model. So let's see what's next. They may normalize this kind of intensive, team-based, relationship-driven primary care that we call Health 3.0. So that's the next iteration in the waking up of medicine, because medicine needs to wake up as a system, which means the individuals in it need to wake up to their authentic calling, what it is they're doing. Like, I can't practice in this broken system. I just can't. So I stopped doing that. And when Turntable closed, I was still rounding at the hospital and stuff. And then finally I was like, I'm just going to focus on the communications part, trying to show bright spots, which is more of what we're going to do on our show moving forward, in addition to the waking up stuff. Because again, like, if we're running broken software where we're operating from a fundamental delusion, our systems are going to reflect that. Now, none of this needs to happen. We can continue to do what we're doing. It's all a story anyways, playing out in consciousness perfectly. So part of the perfect story is I make a lot of noise about this shit because I think it should change. And you might too. Maybe part of your perfect story is your hero's journey is you quit your job and you go work for a direct primary care practice or a concierge practice, or you go do something artistic, or you realize you have enough money to live at a certain level and you're just going to focus on being. Or maybe you realize, no, I still need to make a living, so I'm going to continue to slog away in this, but I'm going to reframe it in a way that it doesn't cause so much suffering for me until I can do what I really authentically know is me. That's fine too. It's all fine. Sarah says, I have nothing to say today, just enjoying your words. Well, then I'm enjoying what you're saying. That's perfect. The perfect unfolding. Yeah, because this is the grand illusion that we're in, as Marky Mark is pointing out. I never thought those words would come out my mouth. Marky Mark, pointing out the grand illusion. Mark Wahlberg. And the illusion itself is the perfect appearance of what's happening. And so there's levels of acceptance that happen. Like, okay, I work in a shitty job that I hate. Okay, acceptance. It's a shitty job. I'm working in it. Then the next level of acceptance is accepting the feeling in the body that you hate this, that it's uncomfortable. And then accepting the fact that you want something else to happen. Say, okay, I get it. That's accepted too. That's part of the appearance. Okay. Then the next right thing is going to happen. There's no choice. It's unfolding. So then the body mind does the next thing. But without the belief, the mistaken belief that it's somehow pushing and pulling on an external reality with separate beings and separate entities. Instead, it's like, oh, this is part of the entire unfolding. The next thing I do, which is walking up to HR and quitting, or going in and doing the job, but realizing none of this is personal. I'm going to do this until I feel like I'm not supposed to anymore. And then the next thing will happen. And the whole time realizing that since there's no separation, there's time and space are just constructions of our mind, and that the infinity that you are is untouched by any suffering or pain and accepts everything unconditionally. That's unconditional love, which means you know it's the same for all other apparent beings. And that's love. That's love in the face of all humanity, all suffering, all beings. And then the Buddhists have this bodhisattva vow that you vow not to complete your enlightenment until all beings are liberated from suffering. That just shows up because it can't be otherwise. How could you hate that which is you in the truest sense? All of it. And how could you push on something that you're not separate from? There's no pushing. There's no distance. That's reality. And it can be known. It can be understood at the deepest level, but not by the mind. The mind will scratch its head again and again and again. That's what it does. Barbie brought me spiritual awakening. Do you see the parallels? Oh yeah, that movie was fully about emotional repression, awakening to your authentic self, the structures of society, and how they're basically a story that we tell. And all you do is you reframe the story and it's still more story. You step out of the story and you just feel everything raw as it is. Should physicians create a union and go on strike? What do you think about this happening? Because they're being targeted by insurance companies, big hospital systems, and patients. I think that this whole system is going to implode. It's going to be from the inside. And what comes next is going to be the parallel of a caterpillar. You don't know. A caterpillar has no idea what's next, but it's put in the work. It's eaten a bunch of leaves. It's shit all over itself. It's a self-terminating process. It knows it's doomed. So it goes still. it goes inward. There's a cocoon happens. And then what comes out the other end has infinite freedom. And instead of destroying the forest, it's pollinating it. That's what medicine's going to do. And if that means, well, physicians form a union, maybe that's how it shows up. Maybe it means physicians do the opposite and they all go independent and do their own thing and tell everyone to fuck off. That's possible too. I can't say. I don't know what's happening in the next moment because there's only this. But whatever it is, I'm going to accept it. And then I'll accept whatever arises in the body and whatever response wants to arise, and that'll be accepted. And it's just, in a way, not even in a way, literally acceptance of what is and surrender to what is are the same thing. And so in every single instant, there's acceptance, surrender, something, there's an arising, and it's either resisted or accepted. And if resistance arises, if the resistance is accepted, that's surrender. But we don't usually operate like that in the human operating system. It's usually resistance, story, thought, belief, projection, all modulations of consciousness in and of themselves, and therefore perfect. But if they're suffering and arises a desire to end suffering, well, then the seeing, the seeking, the seeking for the seeing clearly can arise. And for many on this path, this pathless path to nowhere, from nowhere to here where we never left, it starts with suffering, trauma or dissatisfaction or tragedy, all those things. Let's see. Would you consider a beginner meditation session? Says KJN Hunt. So this is what Ashley was pointing at earlier. There's meditation and there's meditation. And then there's nothing. There's just being. Over-the-counter mindfulness is what you might call beginner meditation, where it's like, let's follow the breath, count the breath, close eyes, and do that. And it allows you to get out of your head a little bit and focus attention, learn to move attention onto an object and stabilize it there so that you're not always in the monkey brain. And that's beautiful and it can help. But remember, it's dualistic. There's a person inside that is doing this practice, focusing on an outside object, the breath, and that's fine and good. And it can help the relative character, the dream character, to be better in many ways. It's a kind of self-help. And it can be a gateway to deeper things, for sure. So highly recommend. Lovely. But that's not liberation. That's not what I'm pointing at. So if you want a beginner meditation that's also all there is, the most advanced prescription strength mindfulness, and these words mean nothing, it's always and already right here in front of you. So you close your eyes and just drop your attention into the body. Out of the head, out of thoughts, into the body. What do I mean? I mean, what's here? In the space you call body, what is actually experienced now? It's a stillness that is vibrating with aliveness. What I was calling hand is an energetic vibration, a pulsation happening nowhere and everywhere. Any location can be seen. It's a thought. That's a thought. The label hand, that's a thought. That's another vibration in awareness. So what else is here? Just rest as the space that all of this is arising in, and rest as the arising That stillness right here. That's just bursting into life. The urge to be. Just the energetics in the body. Oh, and then thoughts come up and label it. That's great. Look at that. Thoughts like a little firework, like a little bird tweeting away. And then it's gone, fallen away in the next energetic sensation. Then you open your eyes and oh, the world of light and color floods all experience in the same empty stillness, vibrating into color and shape. And then the sound of my voice coming from nowhere, heard by who? Just sound. And then you go on with your day. You could start and end with that. Nothing to do. That's reality, showing you itself, yourself. Anyone looking to read a book, it's called Creating True Peace by Thich Nhat Hanh. I'm sure it's great, Leprechaun. Recently, I've been a fan. It's hard for me to read books anymore about this stuff because it sounds like mind stuff. But Perfect Brilliant Stillness audiobook by David Carse, C-A-R-S-E. If you're in this place of being, which we all are, it's a great pointer because he's very direct and he doesn't pull any punches. And I really like that he calls bullshit on the whole spiritual industrial complex because it's all horseshit. It's more mind stuff keeping you asleep, more story, self-help, all this stuff. It's wonderful in the relative, but it's not liberation. It's distraction. It's still believing you exist to help yourself. Modest Toad says, surrender to your own rebellion. Ham-handingly paraphrasing you. Sorry, such a cool point. Ha! I like that. Did I say that? Surrender to your own rebellion. Acceptance and surrender are pretty much synonyms here. ER Nurse Confessions. I love you too. Ashley likes The Awakened Introvert. Love that book. A bit more beginner, but still good. Great. Everything is a click. Everything is a loosening of the energetic structures that we call us. Everything you read. Now, the danger is, and this is not talked about, the mind loves to create beliefs and stories and paradigms and processes. Awakening is none of those things. It is stepping out of all of that. So sometimes the more we read, the more stories and beliefs and paradigms we start to build. And that can become an obstruction. And then we live this spiritual life with all this knowledge that we think we have. But the truth is beyond all knowledge. It's the relinquishment of what we think we know or could ever know. It's the understanding that every single thought that you can have can never really be true because it's just a thought pointing at other thoughts. So what's true? What is real right now? Beyond a doubt. And that's when you close your eyes and you dive attention into the body sense. Notice I say the body sense, not the body. There's no body. That's a thought. The body sense all that energetic experience that's happening. And that's the only thing that's happening. Can you deny that it's happening? It's self-validating, self-knowing. It doesn't need a subject to experience it. It's self-experiencing, self-validating. That it exists is its entire justification, and it could not be otherwise. And where do you find it? Here. And when do you find it? now. And who's finding it? No one. When who and when and where collapse into meaninglessness, the truth is shining right there. Always, already. I'd much rather lay in the moss and surrender to earth than read a book. That's beautiful, Sarah. That works really well because that's what is. Surrender to your own rebellion. Now that's something I can get behind, Risa. Yeah, we oppositional defiant types like that kind of pointer. Ashley says, yes, and the knowledge can be a massive hindrance to the whole process. Angelo talks about that regularly. Yeah, and it's paradoxical because Angelo is imparting knowledge. He's telling you here are the stages. He's telling you this is unbound consciousness. This is how it's experienced. And yet, paradoxically, he's also telling you, forget all that. It's right here. It's always been here. Nothing to do, no one to do it, unfolding perfectly for nobody. That disappearance of the one who is doing anything is liberation. Because then what's left? I can't tell you the answer. It's beyond the mind. Why is the quality so damn good? Are you using your phone? No, I'm using a $6,000 Red Komodo 6K camera, downsampling it to Instagram resolution using a Mac Studio M2 computer and Blackmagic soundboard and an SM7 mic. Like, this is like broadcast quality shit that's total overkill for Instagram. So that's why the quality's so good. It's plug and play for me now. So it's, and you know, the people who paid for this are my supporters, the $5 a month subscribers on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, locals, used to do Patreon. They paid for all this equipment during pandemic, and now I'm trying to pay it forward by basically telling them they don't exist, that birth and death are an illusion. Now they're like, why the fuck did I pay for this? Let's see some comments here. Sean Daddy Cool says, I wish I could get there sometimes. Who wishes they could get where? Look for the one in your experience right now who is making that wish. Who is it that can wish such a thing? Look in your experience and don't take anything that's a thought as the answer, because it's just a thought. Keep looking. What is making that wish? What or who is making that wish? To get somewhere. And look in your experience. And when you see things that look like thoughts, let them go and keep looking. And things might get really quiet, and you might find you've never left where you think you're trying to get, and the you thought you are is not. And there's only this. Perfect, as David Carse would say, perfect, brilliant stillness, outpouring eternally. Wisdom of divine, heavenly togetherness, oneness, says Dr. Nadia Hopeful. That's beautiful. Those are all words, by the way. They're beautiful words. They're lovely words, but they don't even touch this. They reduce it to something that can be wordified, or maybe packaged by the mind, but you know that it's beyond that. Yeah. Your plug and play is scary good. Yeah. It's a whole pandemic I spent buffing the system to a fine shine so that you guys could see every wrinkle on my face. Oh, AJPMD 1964 says, you're not sure if you addressed this, but what do you think about maintenance of certification, MOC? So I've done a few videos with this with Paul Tierstein out of Scripps. I think MOC is a total scam. It's a money-making scam that's not evidence-based, that tortures physicians with no evidence that it actually improves outcomes for patients. It's a racket run by a purported not-for-profit, the American Board of Internal Medicine, that is so painful and onerous to do, even though they've purportedly simplified it, that in 2022, I let mine expire and I stuck with the alternative board that Paul started called National Board of Physicians and Surgeons, NBPAS. And what they require is CME credit, continuing education to show that you're still learning, and that's it. Not a bunch of modules, not a stupid fucking test, testing stuff that you don't use in your practice. Who thought that was a good idea? Nobody, except for the people who are making money. Like, you know, this president or CEO of ABIM makes like a $500,000 salary. Where's that money coming from? Our fees and our time. We should be taking care of patients or overthrowing this fucked up system. So yeah, that's what I think of MOC. It's a fucking complete waste of time and money. And if we all just suddenly decided to let our board certifications expire, like, listen, your initial board certification, yes, you need to be tested to make sure you know what you're doing in your specialty. But maintenance every however many years after that, total terrible idea. I did my first maintenance of certification in 2012, my 10-year after getting my board certification. And I haven't done it since. Toronto, Mary. I'd love to come visit nurses in Toronto. That'd be a lot of fun. It's the home of Rush, man. Can't go wrong. Dr. Nadia says, eternally effulgence, effervescently, elegantly flowing. That's good too. Beautiful words. Yeah. That's how words come out when you point at this. Will you be doing any collab soon? No, but I might be doing some interviews, and I might get my old buddy Tom Heineber back on the show, do some podcast stuff. Monica Gandhi's coming on the show, I think next week or the week after, talk about her new book, looking at what we learned from pandemic. So that'll be fun. Yeah, nurses don't have to do that in maintenance of certification BS, Risa. That's right. You have to do all the other fucking BS that you have to put up with. Yeah, Tom, Cynthia. I had a wonderful call with him today. We're going to try to do like a remote audio podcast because he's still in Vegas. Love that guy so much. Yeah, I know. Tom is, I miss him too, Ashley. He's on his own hero's journey and is just crushing the game. And so it'll be fun to reconnect with y'all together. It'll be great. Tom Heineber for the win, man. Also Vinay, at some point I gotta hit Vinay up. We got to do a show. We were planning on doing like 6 episodes at once because there's so much to talk about, but we're both busy. You know, actually he's more busy than I am. I'm busy being. Like I turn off my phone. I stop answering emails. It's like there's nothing to do. It's all noise. And you have to kind of feel that at some point. You have to just allow that and then spin it back when it's right to spin it back. Let's see. Can you give Angelo's full name? It's Angelo Dilullo, Dilullo. He's an anesthesiologist in Colorado, wrote the book Awake, It's Your Turn. Highly recommended book read if you're on this journey. The quality is so good, you seem almost like artificial intelligence. Hey man, forget about artificial intelligence. We just need plain old just plain old intelligence. That'd be enough. He's still in the Bitcoin? Hell yeah, Ashley. He's crushing the Bitcoin game. How do you reconcile suffering while in medical school from the stress and unrealistic expectations? How do you reconcile that? There's no reconciling suffering. There's only knowing what its origin is and what its end is. So in medical school, I suffered a lot. There wasn't reconciling. There was suffering, unopposed suffering. It just so happens I happened to be wired such that I could tolerate it well enough that I survived through it and things got better. But there was still a lot of suffering. Angelo woke up before he entered medical school. He had a massive awakening when he was 24 that was triggered by suffering. And he went through medical school with that kind of equanimity, so that discomfort would arise, but it was accepted and the next thing was done. And so you can ask him about that in a Q&A on his show or something. But the end of suffering is the end of self, the end of the one who suffers. And then there's just life living itself perfectly. And so we just don't hold things in the way that we do, where there's a separate being suffering, because it has no choice. As a separate being, it's got to suffer. It's imperfect. It's flawed. It's incapable. It's unworthy. All those things are true. Shame, which arises, is actually a normal response to being human, because of course we feel terrible about ourselves, because what we think we are is fucking not a real thing. And on a deep level, we know it. So we keep trying to make it real and it's never working. So we feel shame. Yep. That's right, Anne. Back to chopping wood. Carry water, chop wood. That's enlightenment, before and after. Hey, Z, it's been a while. What's up? Hey, Luna, good to see you. Has been a while. Guess I'll see you at retreat in November in North Carolina, Angelo's retreat. You can go to his website, Simply Always Awake, to see his retreat schedule. All right. I got to go and pick up my kid because they have a half day today and the other one doesn't. So it's just me driving everyone around because I've decided I don't mind doing that. So I'm going to do it. I like spending time with my kids. They're good kids. I used to be reluctant to say things like that because I'm superstitious. Like, the other shoe's going to drop, something terrible is going to happen, one of them is going to develop a drug habit, and all that could still happen. But it's all perfect, really. And you just are there, present, supporting, accepting, knowing they're not yours. They're not even theirs. It's all the perfect unfolding. And then it's unconditional love. Yeah. So I'm going to unconditionally drive my 2012 Camry that I'm driving until it breaks to go pick them up and from their public school, where they are very reasonably unhappy to be back in school and also itching to get back to school. That whole paradox. Oh shit, man. I didn't sleep that good last night. It was weird. I had a lot of dreams, like just crazy dreams. And that was fine. Sometimes you wake up and you're like, oh, I didn't sleep good, man, fuck, my whole day's ruined. I woke up and I was like, oh, I didn't sleep good. How about that? Some interesting dreams. Then you just go do your thing. Just accept what's arising. Except you're going to yawn on a live video with a bunch of people. Just how it is. All right, gang. Love y'all. Until next time, we is out.